This video will demonstrate how the Neptune AI Assistant, or Naia, can rapidly generate an SAP-connected application. Create a new application to display sales orders from SAP. The left side should be a list of clickable sales orders with a search filter above it. On the right should be a table containing the items of the selected sales order. The right-hand side should also have a footer with a green button on the right with a label Save. I can also iterate on this. Once I am happy, I can import into the application. Now the next step is to bind the data from the SAP APIs that I've added to the UI controls. I have already dragged and dropped my 3 REST API components to get the necessary data from SAP. At this point, I'm going to tell it to run this API when the application starts, and I'm going to place the resultant data in this multi-model called order list. Now I can go into the sales order list and bind that to my order list multi-model. You can see that there are 5 hard-coded values, which I do not need. I can then configure this one list item to bind the data from the API result. First thing I'm going to do is change it to an object list item so I can display more fields in the list. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bind a number of these properties to the fields in the API. So for intro, I'm going to use the customer name. For the number, I will use the net value. For the number unit, I will use the currency. And for the title, I will use the sales order number. Now, I can also filter these values. So for the sales order number, I can remove leading zeros. And for the number itself, I can format it per the browser settings. Now we have the data coming back from SAP. If I wanted to implement a filter, I can go into the filter field, go into the live change event, and I can ask Naia to create the code for me. Filter the sales order list on field VBELN. I can add that script in. Now we have filtering capabilities. The next piece is to call the getOrderDetail API when one of these items is clicked. So I have already set up the API, and what I want to do is I want to set up the onClick event. So again, I can prompt Naia to tell it exactly what it needs to do. Once I have the code to call the getOrderDetail, I need to bind my table on the right-hand side to the result. So again, I simply bind it to my multi-model for the order details. And here I can go ahead and use the wizard to generate my columns. So I can add the item, material number, description, quantity, unit of measure, and price. I will also make the quantity editable. Now, when I click on these items, we can see the data is coming back from SAP. The final step in this process is to call the Save order API when the save button is pressed. Again, we will prompt Naia to do this. So now we can try this out. We can change the quantity to 4, click Save, and we can see the order was saved successfully. Based on the error handling logic, if we didn't provide a quantity, we could see that the information from SAP, an error message, is being returned.